Hey everyone, Matt with Valer here. In this video, I'm going to go over all the custom buttons that are in the control panel. This is for our DayZ package. Our older customers will see there's been quite a few new ones added. New customers will want to know what they all do, so I'll give you a rundown of all of them right now. First, we have the configuration files. This is where you can find config files for everything from the server itself to any add-ons that you have installed or any custom scripts. So if we'll go ahead and just pull that up. And you'll see here, DayZ I-44 is the current map installed on this server. So you can, right here, you have the general ARMA server configuration file. You can open them up, you can edit them, do anything you want to do with them. And when you install any mods from the mod manager section, each one of their configuration files will show up on this page. The next one is mod manager. And this is where you can install all your maps. You can install the private MySQL server. You have access to tools like BattlEye extended controls and whitelister. You also have all of our add-on scripts that we're in the process of adding right now. And anything you want to install, you just click install next to the actual mod itself. The next one is the file manager. And this gives you access to all your server files. You have almost unrestricted access to everything. Not everything will be available, but everything you need to actually edit will be available. So you can see here, as an example, we'll go in the Valer Code Custom folder. This is where both the server PBO and the mission PBOs are held. So we'll open the Chinaris mission file, or server PBO, and you can see everything's right there for you to edit. You can actually edit files right in here as well. So let's say if you wanted to go ahead and update, let's call it, say the server update object.sqf, you click the pencil, and you have access to the script. You can edit it right from here, click save, it'll save the file. Next time your server restarts, it'll use that new edited PBO. After File Manager, we have the Log Viewer. And the Log Viewer is where you can view all of your server logs. This can be anything from the server RPT, the create vehicle log, anything else. As you can see here, they're all accessible. You can actually stream these logs. So let's say we'll go ahead and we'll check out the RPT file. Click on New Window or Stream File, either one. I have a couple coding errors on my server, so that's causing some problems. That's actually a good way to tell if you have issues with your server. You can pop the RPT log open, take a look, and there's clearly something going on with this one. I'll have to look into that later. And you can do that with any of the logs located here. Next, we have the current activity and stats. This gives you a general overview of things that are going on in the server. It'll show you players that are currently in there. You can go to Graphs and History and see history of all the players on the server. You can see how much CPU it's used. You can see how much memory it's used. That's really all there is to that. And you have your game tracker banners. Our control panel will automatically submit your server to game tracker, so you can come to this page and you can go ahead and use the code snippets for form signatures or for your website, whichever you prefer. Next we have Purge All Logs. And this is the first of the custom script buttons. The first one, what I've showed you so far, are built-in control panel functions. Everything after this are custom scripts that we've added to the control panel. So the Purge All Logs, when you run that, it deletes all log files from your server. It's good to do that every few days to keep them nice and tidy and keep files from getting too big. One special thing with some of these buttons is they can be scheduled just like you would schedule a server restart. So let's say with Purge All Logs, you would go to Schedule Tasks, click New, and from the drop-down select Purge All Logs. As you can see, there's many other buttons here that can be scheduled as well. Next we have the Live Sync Update. What this will go ahead and do is it'll connect to our master file server. It'll scan all the files on your server compared to the master server. If we've updated anything on the master, it'll download them to your server. And these next few are pretty self-explanatory. Remove bear traps, remove sandbags, remove tank traps, remove tents, remove wire fence. Those are basically just object removal buttons. So if you like to do regular cleanups on your server, you can remove any of those objects. They can also be scheduled as well. Then we have Set Custom Loadout. This is more or less a basic loadout tool. It gives you all the necessities that you would need in game. It doesn't have all the weapons or all the items, but it has a good majority of them. So you just go down through the list, select everything you want, pick a primary weapon, pick the ammunition for it, you want any tool belt accessories, set them all there. You have all your database login information here, which should all be correct if you installed the map in MySQL correctly. You click to execute, and that will go ahead and run it on your server. If you're on the Valere Hive and not a private hive, you can ignore all the database details. So let's go ahead and cancel out of that. Next we have set server time. And this script allows you to set the time on your server. It will stop your server, set the time, and restart it. So keep in mind when you run this script, it'll shut your server off. You have two different options. You can use a UTC offset. And if you do that, it'll show the actual server time in DayZ Commander. So let me just pull up my favorites. We have a few examples here. Most people use the static, don't use this specific option anymore. A lot of people just go with start the server at a certain time. So let's see here. This one in particular, you can see it shows the in-game time. That will happen if you select a specific UTC offset. Down here, one caveat to UTC, that means every time if you want your server to always be day, every time you restart it, you have to go in and change the time. These options will start your server at a specific time every single time the server restarts, so there's no manual intervention needed to keep it 24-hour daytime or anything like that. Just set what time you want the server to start at. When it restarts, it'll be that time. The one thing to note with this option, like I mentioned, is it will not show the time. You can see all of these servers in here that do not have time, and that's because they are using the option like I just explained. So after the set server time, we have remove out of bounds objects. This one does two things. It will remove any objects that have been placed outside the normal bounds of the map. This includes vehicles, tents, sandbags, tank traps, all of that. And after it does that, it'll also respawn vehicles to replace those. You can remove all vehicles from your server. You can use this to spawn vehicles. I think the server has all of its vehicles already. But for here, you put in, if you're using a private hive, put in all your database details. Usually they will be correct because all those variables get saved globally and can be used for other scripts. If you're just using the Valere hive, you can leave all that as is and not change anything except the vehicle limit. You go ahead and you click execute, it pops up a script window, and it'll spawn vehicles on both the Valere hive and your private hive at the same time. As you can see, mine's full. I didn't spawn any additional ones. So we'll go back to the home page. Next we have reset your Archon password. And this script will do exactly what it says. It'll let you reset and change your Archon password. As you can see, you just put in your Archon information, your max pane, click execute. It'll go ahead and write all the correct configuration files for it. After that, we have update BattleEye filters. And basically what this will do is it runs through, it'll look at any maps that you currently have installed, and it'll go ahead and download the newest files from the community ban list repository, and then it'll merge any specific changes for the map. So let's say you're on Taviana. Taviana uses a custom scripts.txt. So what this will do is take all the specific changes in the Taviana file and merge it into it, so you don't have to do that manually. The next button is change database password. If you are on the private hive option, you can come in here to change your password. You just put in what you want the root password to be, the DayZ password, make sure the rest of this information is correct, and click execute. Next button is MySQL backup. This works two ways. It can be scheduled, and you can also just click it to run it. When you click it, confirm the execution, it'll go through and back up your MySQL database. And you can schedule that just like you can a restart or anything else. Just schedule the MySQL backup. You can have it run whenever you want. After that, we have the MySQL restore. And this script has two options. The first being you can select any of your previous backups from a drop-down list and put all your database details in, click execute, it will restore the database back to the one you selected. The other option you see here is revert last restore. So let's say I do this restore and there's something wrong with the backup. I didn't back up far enough, so I want to undo that restore. You just go to revert last restore. It'll return your server to how it was before doing the MySQL restore. Next we have rebuild server PBO. You can use this to manually build your server PBO if you want. The server itself will actually compile the PBO every time it's started. You can do this to compile it without starting the server if you just want to quickly do it to test. You have restore database, and this deletes all objects from your instance. And that's on the Valere hive and private hive. So if any tents, any objects, it doesn't touch survivor data, but it does deal with all of the objects, vehicles, tank traps, tents and all of that. This restore code option is if you're using the private Hive. Essentially what this will do is it restores the entire Valera code custom folder, essentially replacing all the PBO files with the default files in case you break something on the server. You can run that script and that will return them to a default state. This TSW detail script, when you run this is for the Silent Warrior anti-hack for people that use it. All you have to do is click this button and it gives you all the details that you need to enter into Silent Warrior. You just enter those in and you can use the tool. And that pretty much does it for all the different buttons here. Some of these will work on the private Hive. Some of them will work. Some will work on both the private and the Valera Hive. Some will only work on the private Hive, and some will not work. And there are some maps it won't work on. So first, the ones that can be used on both the private Hive and the Valera Hive are purge logs, live sync, any of these remove objects, the set loadout, the set server time, the remove vehicles out of bounds, the remove all vehicles, create vehicles, Archon password, update battle live filters, restore database, and that's it. The ones that you need to have the private MySQL server to use would be change database password, backup and restore MySQL, the rebuild server PBO, restore code, and the TSW details. As long as you have a private database, you're all set. And that does it for this explanation. Hopefully that clarified what all the buttons do for you. Again, my name's Matt with Valera. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment or submit a ticket on valera.com. Thank you very much.